Welcome to our quick 101 course on headers inside Elementor. Now, most of you probably know this like the back of your hand, but there's going to be someone out there who's just using Elementor but just needs a bit of a prep about what is the headings? What does it mean? How does it work? What are all the settings I need to go through? And it's dead simple, but let's do that right now. Okay, so we're in Elementor, and we, as soon as you go in and you look at the widgets or elements that are available to you, heading is there for you. You can't miss it, and it's available in Elementor free. Okay, so this is for whether you got the free or the pro version. What you do is you just go over, left click onto heading, drag it and drop it into your section. In fact, let's just go back a step, okay? Let's just say this is the first time you're using Elementor and you've got a blank page, okay? You're going to decide to pick, and you may have a section. You may go for a section with one column, a section with two columns, three columns, etc. Let's just go for one column, okay? We're then going to go over and pick our heading. Okay, cool. So we've got the header in there. Now, I'm just going to leave that saying add your heading text here. You can, if you want, just change that over here and just say example. Or you can actually type over here as well. So I'm going to say example header. It's up to you where you do it, okay? One thing, though, I will point out, though, is that if you hit return and then you type header line 2, you'll notice in the edit heading section, there is a breakpoint that has been added. So if you're familiar with HTML or CSS or anything like that, this shouldn't scare you, but for anyone who's never used it, you might go, what's that? But what it's done is it's automatically added in a bit of code to force it to go to the next line. And if you get rid of that, that will happen. You've now removed the breakpoint for the carriage return or the new line. So you can either type BR over there, or you could just do that, hit return over here. So it's up to you. I mean, look, let me just make a point, okay? If I don't hit return over here in the actual screen, and instead I go to the editor and type it here, it's now done another breakpoint. Okay, let's just get rid of that. We'll just get rid of all of that so we just have one line. What you can do is do a link. So I could link this to google.com. Why am I doing that? Why would you do that? Anyway, I'm just giving you an example. So what would now happen is that whenever anyone comes to your page and they're viewing it live or even now, when they hover over that, can you see here in the bottom corner, it disappears, but in the bottom corner there, it says google.com. So that means now your header isn't just a header, it's now a link to go elsewhere. And it doesn't have to necessarily go to an external link. You could, if you want, type, so I've got a page called courses. If I click that now, that will take them to another page within the website. And it doesn't have to be a page that's on your menu. It can be anything that is within your website. So you might have a post, a page, something. Just start typing the title and it will take them there. Okay, so a useful way of using links. I don't really bother with the sizing, because if you start to do that, all it really does is adjust the size a bit. And I do find that a bit of a lazy way to modify your text. Because if you don't start assigning font sizes to it, later on when you do need to, you're going to be going, oh, I need to go a little bit bigger, and then you pick medium and it's too big. So I ignore the size option. What is important, though, is the HTML tag. Now, on your home page, your headlines or your first paragraph that really gets across what is your website about? What is your service? What is the problem you're going to solve for your viewers or your customers? You want to make sure it's a H1 tag, okay? You can see it's already increased the size, but we're going to shrink it down. The H1 tag is important for SEO, site engine optimization, especially when you use Rank Map, which is free. Make sure you use Rank Map for SEO with Elementor and WordPress, and just generally for any part of your life. So just bear in mind that if you are going to be saying a paragraph or something key about your services or what your website's about, make sure it's a H1. Anything else, it can be a H2, but don't just leave everything as a H2. try to be a bit methodical with H2, H3, H4, H5. And if you ever put your website through like a site engine optimization, like audit tool, just to scan your page and give you some feedback, it will probably point out to you that you've got too many H2s and not enough H3s or H4s. You just go in and modify it a little bit. The alignment, pretty obvious, center, right, justified, or, whatever you want to go for. Let's just leave, in fact, let's put it as a center for now. No, let's put it back as a left. There's a reason for that. Let's then go to the style. Now my text. Now this is where you can click the color and you can pick any text color you want. There you go. But if you have done what we've advised you to do in another video about your global settings, if you have gone over here and you've assigned your color palette and what you're going to use, when you click over here now on the globe, you can now pick from your color palette. And that just means that if I go for this color here, and then later on me or the client goes, we want to go for blue now, I just change the color once in the global settings and it will modify it across the entire website. So try and make sure you are using your color palette. It saves you a lot of hassle later on, believe me. Okay, here's where we now do the typography. I don't always use the global typography. So I've just told you to do the global colors, and I'm telling you, no, don't do it for the typography. That's just my style and the way I do things. I like to go in and have a bit more control over that. So I might say, okay, I'm going to pick any one of these different styles. Let's just go for McLaren. No, let's not go for McLaren. Let's go for Montserrat. There we go. So I've just picked a slightly different font and it's applied it. I can now change the size. And this is the point I made. Better to do your size here. So let's just go for 25. Or I could increase it to go for 70. Let's just leave it as 70 here for now. Okay. I can now also adapt the weight. So if I click here, I could go for 100. So it's quite thin. Or I could go for 900 and make it much bolder. But I have a wide range of font sizes that I can go for here. Let's just do it at 500. Okay. Transform. Uppercase, lowercase, capitalize, normal. Normal is normal. Capitalize. Well, it's not going to do much because I only have 2 words and both of them are capitalized anyway. Lowercase, yeah. Uppercase. It's pretty logical, right? Okay, let's just put it back to default. What about style? So you've got normal, italic, or you have oblique as well. Oblique's not a great one to use, and I don't see many people using it, so just go for normal or italic. Then we have the line height. Now I'm just going to return that just to make a point of how this works. So right now we have line height. If I start to increase this, can you now see what it's doing? It's modifying the space between each of the lines. So are they going to be really close together and overlapped? That looks rubbish. Or are we going to have them spaced out? And you can use a slider, or you can be a bit more methodical with your layout. So you might want to go for something very specific in terms of your spacing. And the same for letter spacing. Look what happens when I shrink it. The letters get closer. I increase it. The letters get wider. Okay, so again, you can increase and decrease how that is looking. Let's just put that back to a 1. Okay, like that. Or you can just get rid of those as well. So don't think, oh, I've put a number in. I need to leave a number in now. You can, if you want, put 0, or you can just hit return and get rid of it by deleting. Leave it blank. I mean, I'll leave that as a 1 because it looks a bit better. Okay, cool. We then have text shadow. So I could, did you see that? Did you see what happened there? Let me do that again. Look at the wording. Look what happens when I click text shadow. A little bit of a shadow appeared behind it. I could increase the blur, make the blur a bit more specific. I could change the color of the blur. At the minute, it's a very transparent black color, but let's put it to proper black. There we go. Okay, let's just increase the blur a little bit. Ooh, I dropped the color again. Let's put that back to black. Oh, come on, black. There we go. We could mess around with the blur, just get it a bit down like that. And now I'm going to modify the horizontal and vertical. So I'm going to just say, give me about 2 vertical, and give me 2 there. And what it's now done is it's done vertical downwards, and then it's gone horizontal to the right. If I go the other way, it will go to the left. And if I go the vertical the other way, it goes to the top. Can you see that? So you can start to modify what is the 3D effect you're almost getting with your text almost coming out of screen. I don't use text shadows a lot. I find them a little bit dated, in my opinion. It's a style that was massively used 20 years ago. I'm not a massive fan of it, but it's up to you. Go for it if you like it. Okay, let's just get rid of that. And the way you get rid of it really quickly is you just click the little anti-clockwise arrow there. You click that and it just removes it. Now, if I give my background a color, so I'm going to go to my section, I'm going to go to style, and I'm just going to pick a background color. Let's go for black, like so. If I go back to my heading and I now go to the blend mode, this is where you can start to play around. So let's say I've got an image behind there, and the image has some dark or light areas on it, you know, like a photo of a city skyline or something like that, or just someone running in a field. You can start to mess around with how your lettering looks. And if I go to multiple, you won't see anything. If I go to screen, overlay, again, it's gone. So let's just add in a image. Let's add in, here we go. Let's just go for this image of me looking very weird. Okay, can you see there? The text at the moment has turned a pink color. Because what it's now doing is it's doing an overlay. So it's taking the red and it's overlaying it onto a blue color. So the blue and the red, obviously, you're going to get a pink purpley color. If I go to screen, I get this slight effect over here. If I go to multiply, it is now the red. But can you see bits of the image? The grass there, not the grass, it's the leaf, is now showing through. Let me just make this a bit bigger. There we go. That's probably a better example of what's happening there. This is another way of how we can modify the text and how it looks on the screen. Okay, there are so many different styles here you can go for. Just to start to play around and pick the one you want. I mean, look, if you want to be really crazy and zany and there's a reason for why you want to do this, this is a great thing to do. And if you've made your background section like a parallax and it scrolls up and down as you move, this could work really, really well. Okay, what we're going to do is just put this back to, no, I'll tell you what, let's just leave it like this. Because it might work with something I'm going to show you, which is motion effects. Right, so that's the content and the style settings. Believe it, can you believe it? We're on the most simple element you're going to find on Elementor, and we're still talking about it because, there's so many different ways you can use it. Let's go to the advanced now. Now, let's just drop the font size, actually. Let's just drop that a bit. Let's just go for there. Okay, cool. Now in the advanced tab, if I just undo and just put 0, 0 for margin and padding, nothing happens because it's left aligned at the moment. If I now stick into here, left, and I put in 100, it will now start 100 pixels away from the left border of the column. Okay? And if I was to say 100 from the top, it now starts 100 from the top. So look, there's the column. We're 100 away from the left and 100 away from the top. I hope that makes sense. But we could also do it by using the padding as well. So I might say 100 from the top and 100 from the left. It's up to you what works, and it all depends on what other content you've got within here and how you want to show it. But again, that's how your margins and paddings would work. You could, of course, do a minus as well. So if I just do a minus here, now I have a fixed a sticky header here at the moment, but what's now happening is by me doing a minus 51, it is now going outside of the column and the section. So you might have two sections and you want your header to overlap between section 1 and section 2 or some other feature or widget. This is again how you use the margins to do that. Let's just put it back to 0, 0. Okay. The paid memberships pro, ignore that. That's just something on my website. Ignore that. You will not have that unless you've installed it. So ignore. Okay, you did not see it. We then have motion effects. Okay, now if I was to do a entrance animation, so what we'll do is we'll say fade in from the left. So what will happen is when you go to the page, it fades in from the left. We could set it to be slow, so it fades in at a slower pace. we have lots of other options here. So zoom in, bounce in, slide in, we could do pulse. So it's there, but it just kind of pulses, basically. But look, there's loads of options here, and I always say play around, have a feel for it, okay? Let's just leave it as fade in from the left for now. We then have also scroll effects and mouse effects. So if I go to mouse effects, okay, I'm going to say mouse track, and I'm going to say do the opposite, okay? So look what happens. I move my mouse to the right, and the header moves to the left. When I move my mouse to the left, the header moves to the right. Can you see that? I could also do direct, okay? So as I move, the header's moving. It's not going to really completely move completely off the scale, off the page, and go wherever you want. But what it does is it just allows a little bit of interaction. Again, don't overdo this. Have a play with it. If you find it works for you, it might be, just a nice little feature that you might want to use. I'm just going to click the anti-clockwise arrow just to undo that. And I'm going to just untick mouse effects as well. We also have scrolling effects. So we have vertical, horizontal, transparency, blur, rotate, and scale. Okay, that should all make sense as to what they are, and it will once I show you one of them. If I now go to horizontal scroll and I just click it, I can now decide what happens as I scroll up and down the page. So as I move my mouse, it is moving to the left, and that's because it says to the left. Let's say go to the right, and I'm going to say let's increase the speed and set it to be about 7. So what will happen is, as you scroll up and down now, it will start at a certain point of the page, and as you move up and down, it's going to move across the page. So if you've added a bit of an effect, a blend effect or something like that, and you've got some other content on the page, and the page is loaded and your header's there, as you scroll up and down, you might have the header go one way, and you might have something else underneath go the other way. So you can add a bit of a motion effect going on, just to add a bit of interest to the website. You do not have to do this, okay? There is no steadfast right or wrong rule for what you do. Go with your gut, go with your design spec, go with something maybe just to add something different. But I don't always use this. I might use it on 1 or 2 sites because it really needs it, just to add something different. But please don't use it if you don't want. But that's what it does. And if you did a vertical one, as you scroll, it could go up, it could go down. Transparency, it could become more transparent or less transparent. Blur, you could have it rotating as well. Look, let me just show you the rotate, okay? So what will happen is that, it might be that as you scroll up and down, it starts to do something like that. That is a bad example, but you get the idea now, okay? And you can decide whether this effect that you've added, does it happen on the desktop, the tablet, and the mobile, or does it only happen on the desktop? So you do that, and this effect will now only occur on the desktop. So because sometimes on a mobile, when you have too many effects going on, flying in, going in, moving around, spinning around, it gets a little bit like, okay, this is too much, this is over the top, I don't want to look at this website. So just bear in mind that what looks good on a desktop or works on a desktop might not necessarily be great when you move to a mobile phone. So take that into account. Right. If we then scroll down, I can go to the background as well for the header. We're still in the advanced tab, and I might decide that the background is going to be a white. Let's just go for white. The trouble is though, is that because my section is the full width of the screen at the moment, it is colouring the entire width, even though my header is only about half the size of the screen. Okay, so So what I could do is 2 things to shrink that down. Now, some people are fine with that, and what you might do is just drop the transparency. So even though it's going all the way across, I've now got a bit of a transparent background. Yeah, but I wanted the full white background. Okay, so let's just jump out of the background bit at the moment. Let's go down to positioning. If I go to positioning and I go to width and I just click custom, it's done it. It has literally now just shrunk it down. It is very close to the lettering, okay? We are going to adjust that. But what it's done is it's now just shrunk it down to the size of the lettering. Of course, it's not perfect. you know, whatever was the size of the lettering or the length of the lettering on the first line, that's the width of the box. But that is better than the full width, wouldn't you say? Okay, what we can do though is just go back up to our advanced, and now we can add a bit of padding to our wording here. So if I make sure you clicked on the heading, I'm just going to say for the right, give me about 20, and for the left, give me about 20. Okay, and I might just do a bit more for the top and bottom as well, 5 and 5. There we go. So now we have it a little bit better laid out. Is that okay? I hope that made sense what we did there. Right. What we can now do is go to the, remember, you can get rid of the background if you want. Okay, you could just go to the color and just completely take it away, but let's leave it on. Okay, if I now go down to border, this is where I might add in a border radius of 25. Let's increase that to 50. Let's do 50. There we go. And can you see that it's added in a round border around the four corners of the header? You could, if you want, unlink, and you might say, don't do it on the top and don't do it on the right. No, we do want it on the right. We don't want it on the bottom. That's it. There we go. So now, can you see that we have a slightly unique, not a unique style, because there will be other people that have done this, but we now have two right angle corners. Let me get it right. We have two right angle corners, and then we have two rounded corners. Wow, something like that. I'm trying to get across what you see and what I see, but I hope that makes sense. Okay. You can also add a border, so I could hit solid, and I might say the width is going to be 2 pixels, and it's going to be a red color. Okay. Now, in fact, let's just make it 20. Okay. So that's me now. Just added in a white background to my header. Okay. Changed the corners to be however I want, made it bespoke, and I've now just added in a border. That's just using the advanced settings, and that's what they're there for. They're for you to make it quite unique. Of course, in the border, you can also change things. So when you hover over it, you might say, let's make it dotted, and we'll say 20 again, and this time it's going to be a black color. So when you hover over it, you get a bit of a pattern effect. Again, please don't go overboard with this, because that's like, get that away from my eyes. But, you know, I hope you get the idea there. And the same with the background as well. You know, we had a white background. I might say, okay, we are going to have a color. Let's just go, we will actually have a transparent color. So look, okay, you get the idea, okay? This is probably the worst example I've ever built right now. Okay, right, so back in the advanced tab, okay? We also, the positioning we've done as well. And the responsive one really is, this is where you might decide this header is only going to be viewable on the desktop. So when we go to tablet and mobile, that header is not visible, okay? So it's viewable on the desktop. But if we go to responsive mode, okay, can you see it's grayed out? And that's because the section is visible. That is still there, but the header is not visible on the mobile or the tablet. Look, there's the tablet, there's the mobile. I did extend that a bit too wide, by the way. No one has a mobile that big. So there's your mobile, there's your tablet, and when you go to the desktop, it's now activated. So look for the grey hash lines that are going across, okay? And custom CSS, if you've got Elementor Pro, this is where there may be some funky code out there that you've written or you've found from someone that you could stick in here to do something really funky with it. But with headers, they're relatively quite simple, and you will find the settings here and the style in advance kind of do what you want. Look, I hope that made sense, and I hope you feel a little bit better now about the settings in the header. Thumbs up if you liked it, please subscribe, and come back for more.